Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another off-the-cuff chat with me, FPL Mez. It's great to have you join us today ahead of Game Week 21. And today I have a special guest, Ryan from Football Chatbox, to join me today to talk about FPL, life, all the things, all the dramas as we head into Game Week 21. So, hey, Ryan, how are you?
I am doing good, Meera. Hopefully, my audio is coming through on
Yeah,
all the platforms.
yeah,
So,
I can
but yeah,
hear
I'm
you.
doing really well.
Amazing. I can hear you loud and clear, and hopefully everyone in the YouTube chat can hear us as well. So yeah, great. So good to have you. Like we've had so many conversations in lots of different ways as well. Like whether it's been through some of the amazing content work that you do, and it'll be great to kind of hear from you about some of the stuff that you've been doing. So Ryan, you've been like doing a lot of content creation for quite some time now as well. So yeah, it'll be great to get to know you a little bit more as well. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I've got a nice picture of you that just before we sort of joined the stream actually. Ryan, we were just saying how there's very few photos of you online that you shared as well
Yes.
through Twitter, especially or X. So yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. So I am a software engineer slash cyber security. I do both like a mix for my company, which is why you would have probably seen very less photos out there as well, because in cybersecurity, you have this term called infosec. So it's like just limiting the amount of information that is publicly available to you kind of out there. But I do realize as you are a content creator, you kind of can't limit that as well to a point. So there is a fine balance of like what I share, what I don't share.
Yeah.
But yeah, from a content creation point of view, I've been creating content since about 2018, not necessarily FPL. First started off creating FIFA content with some
Oh,
housemates.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was over on a different channel, which is still there on my gaming channel. And we did play around with some FPL content. Like in 2019, we started a bit, and then it just died off when because people tend to lose interest as well. Numbers drop, so just the content just dropped as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of got back again in I think around 2020, where I found a few other friends who were like dedicated FPL managers. So
Yeah.
I like, okay, let's get them in. I joined one of my friends' work mini league as well. So I got him also on as part of the panel now, which you see, if you watch the channel, you see like various members of the panel. Some are from his work mini league, some are friends, and I have a tiny mini
Oh,
FPL
that's so
trophy
cool.
from winning it last season. But
Yeah.
um, so basically, just do content with them now regularly on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so how many seasons have you been playing, Ryan?
Oh, good question. I think the first season that I have played, I'm looking at here, 2012-13. However,
Wow.
I think 2012-13, I joined midway through.
Right.
And I would say I probably was more of a casual manager approach
Yeah.
for at least half my time of playing this game, probably. Because back then it was just you play with friends basically. You're just
Yeah, that's
competing with
right.
friends. And like the most casual way of like getting, because there was no stats, there was no Twitter threads or anything of the like that sort. The only thing is you watch the games, you
Yeah.
go onto the FPL app, you see who people are transferring in, you see the points, are like, okay, this guy is getting points, this guy has good fixtures, okay, bring him
Yeah.
in. It No thought of team value, or even like stats in terms of XG, expected goal, XG conceded, like shots on target, all of that, nothing. So before it was just more casual eye test, and am I beating my friend in my mini league or not? That's basically it.
Oh, I love that though, because you know what? Like I think more recently I got a nice reminder from I think it might have been Tien actually who sort of posted the Australia Elite mini league that we've got, of course, and he sort of I think it was him anyways. Someone tweeted at me saying yeah, you don't want to you don't want to be a one season wonder. I was like, oh shit, I better start looking at like how my mini leagues are doing because I've not really been looking at them. And it's really funny
Yeah.
because like in my first season I was obsessed with my mini league more than I was about anything else. But I feel like I need to go back to kind of like playing the mini leagues again and just having the fun, having fun with the mini leagues and all of that. But yeah, that's really cool. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about like some of the FPL content that you've been doing. So obviously you've got your own channel. You've been doing content on
Yes.
there. What you've probably told this story a million times, but every time I try and search for you, I always search for FPL chat box, and it never
Yes.
comes
No.
up because your football chat box on there.
Yes.
Yeah, so you've been doing obviously content on your channel, and then you've been doing Scout the Game Week as well, and that's been mostly like a podcast, and then more recently it's been like on a video stream as well.
Video, yeah.
And then you've been doing, FPL IQ as well. So yeah, how do
Yes,
you find the time to do it all?
Well, if Pete from FL Sidnet is listening to this, he'll tell me I have no sleep, which may be sometimes true because I'll be doing a deadline stream at like 3 a.m. in the morning today, but that's a
Yeah.
completely different story. Now, how do I find time? Well, it's a good question because I try and limit the number of videos as well that I do.
Yeah.
You kind of don't want to get burnt as well in terms of how much content you do. The FPL IQ boys that came up this season from Rob, which was pretty cool because it's a really nice initiative, slightly different to how you see regular content out there because we look at like a couple matchups and that's basically it. We don't necessarily go every single game, talk about it. We just look at like what are the most important games for that specific game. We can talk about it. And everyone's coming from a different perspective of in terms of thinking angle as well, which is great on that. From Scout the Game Week, that's been now going for like my second season. Took over from Sam from FPL Family for Fantasy Football Scout, and now recently that's become a video as well because David Monday asked me whether he wanted to convert that from a audio to a video as well and get more faces on Fantasy Football Scout. So I was like, okay, yeah, cool. So that's now both an audio/video podcast. And on my channel, that I basically do deadline streams and weekly podcast. So that's mainly the stuff. But I do also try and get like various guests on. I've had you on as well.
Yeah.
Either whether it's for podcast or I think we have been talking with you before and we're looking to make a video, maybe I'll tease it here, of how to win a mini league. With
Oh, nice.
Yes, with yourself and another one of the Australian FPL leagues winners as well. So like different type of content that you might not see that others do as well. So those are a few things that I do on my channel as well. But yeah, it's a different. I try to keep it as different on each channel so that it's not repetitive content as well, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's been going good so far. We'll see how it continues.
It's been absolutely great. Like it's been great sort of watching your journey, especially over the last couple of years. That I guess like I've been part of the the FPL community over here in Australia as well. And I did find this picture which was really nice and thought it'll be good to share. This one where we had the social meetup, and I think obviously there were previous sort of social meetups as well. The FPL Addicts guys, that did this one in Sydney, and I think that was the first time I got to meet you in person as well, which seems like an eternity ago, but it was I think it was in 2022 maybe, or not last year, the year before.
So. No, year before.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
I've
year before, most likely year before. I haven't lost track of time, but
I've lost
year
track
before,
of time.
most likely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But such a great community over here as well, and there's so many of them, like or so many of us now that are sort of doing some sort of content in some shape or form now as well, and it's great. It's such a great community, and to kind of chat and connect with, and yeah, I'm hoping that we'll have another social like this. But obviously we're doing meets now as well in
Mm.
Sydney, and so yeah, I'm hoping that we can have another meet, get together fairly soon. Hopefully, watch another game or something like that, and you can join us when you're not doing a deadline stream. I can't believe you're going to get up
Yes,
at like 3 o'clock in the morning and do a deadline stream. That is
it's fine.
dedication.
There are people who come and watch. So as long as there are people who come and watch, I will continue to do it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. No, I love it. And look, if anyone's around and wants to watch a slightly, I know there's loads of deadline streams going on, but if you want to watch a slightly different deadline stream as well, different sort of perspective, please do check out Ryan's channel. And it's a football chat box. So yeah, please do check it out. It's a really cool and different sort of deadline streams as well. So I won't be awake. There's no way
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
getting up at that time.
I know.
Yeah, no, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. But Ryan, it'd be great for you to tell us a little bit about, how your season has been going so far. So I've actually got your, game week 20 points, on the screen at the moment. So again, game week 20 feels like a very, very long time ago. So it'd be really good to kind of hear from you about how your season's going, but also tell us a little bit about your game week 20s and how that went.
Okay. So started off great. With the green arrow start in the year, which is great.
Mm,
To be honest, if you look at that team, I think the main points came from Palmer and Salah. And obviously Ariola in goal. Everything else is like a bit meh. I got Bernardo Silva in because I was assuming that Haaland would be fit for this game week, which we still don't know, to be honest. Instead of going for Foden, because I thought if I went for Foden, I would have been priced out of Haaland. And now it seems like even Haaland might not be fit. But anyways, that's like a 9 point swing over there. The defense, Trent, 0,
just
Porro, 2, Gabriel, 1. I don't know what to say about it. I will not touch about Palmer because I know.
oh no, I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk about it. I'm gonna
yeah, I'll leave
rant.
that for
I'm gonna
you.
swear. All the
Yeah,
things are gonna happen.
yeah. Saka returned, which was nice. Watkins also returned. Solanke was a bit disappointing. To be honest, I think he should have got some returns in that game.
Yeah,
But apart from that, I think overall it was a great score. Thankfully to Salah and him actually contributing in the second half in terms of FPL points.
yeah.
So I'm actually happy with that return overall. But overall the season has been a yo-yo season of like up, down, up, down. And I feel like this week especially might be like one of those weeks where you might go down because of my team. But we'll talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally. And like so the last video that I did or last stream that I did a bit of a retrospective, and it was my second retrospective of the season, so far. So I did my first one being sort of game week 1 to game week 8, and then I played my wild card in game week 9, and then decided to do a game week 10 to game week 20, basically, retrospective. So if anyone's interested in that, you can check that out on my channel. As well. And yeah, it was really nice to kind of look back at the last 10 game weeks and just kind of work out what went well, what didn't go well, and what could I have done differently, or some of the things that I've learned as well. And I know you've done similar sort of ones as well, like previously, and you talk a lot about sort of how your game has been going as well. Do you feel like, given that it's been a bit of a yo-yo, have you been doing anything differently, or something that you wish that you were doing more of or less of?
Okay, so there were few instances where I wish I kind of trusted my gut a bit more and didn't do that, and you get caught up in the whole um FOMO of Twitter bubble
Oh
and
yeah,
like where
100%.
the FPL where the FPL crowd is going, and you go, oh okay, yeah, maybe shouldn't have done that. But like I try to in some cases trust my gut whenever possible. In other places, sometimes maybe make, I guess, sensible or straightforward moves instead of trying to overcomplicate it as well as time.
Yeah.
I think this season there was a point where I took a tiny break as well, like a week off from like
Yeah, I remember
completely
that.
from FPL and content creation,
Yeah.
just to see if like I can come back with a fresh mindset, to see, because end of the day, even when you're creating content, you're giving feedback to everyone else as well. So if I'm giving shitty feedback to everyone else, it doesn't really help.
Yeah.
And so everyone gets affected, including myself as well. So I was like, okay, let me take a complete break from football, from FPL, and come back. And it kind of did help because my rank did slightly go up. I think I had a few
Yeah.
more greens than I had reds. So that was actually good. And again, the same thing happened, I guess, not uh, not in what do you call it? Not like I actually wanted to take a break, but I kind of took a break from football. I haven't really watched any games in the last because I've been
Yeah.
traveling. So I'm completely missed off like what actually happened in terms of football. The only highlights I've seen was the Liverpool versus Fulham highlights.
Oh yeah.
But apart from that, I haven't really watched much football while traveling. So I'm still going into this game week with a bit more of a like a blank slate, and
Yeah.
then approach the next couple of weeks. See how things go.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That you took a break. Like it's so important to do so. Like I feel like I did similar sort of thing in the sense that even though like obviously there was matches going on during Christmas time as well, but I took a break from sort of just work and everything and just had some downtime. Went to the coast and had some beach time and tried to kind of try and get my tan game, to be better. Basically, it's not that great. I don't, I just don't tan as much as I used to for some reason. I don't know what's going on there, but it was nice to have a bit of a break and just kind of disconnect from Twitter, especially, or X. And you're right, it is a bit of a bubble, and it's so easy to kind of get like, just kind of sucked into what everyone's thinking and doing on the platform, and but it is a really small world as well, and so yeah, it's nice to sort of take a break away from it and not look at so much content as well. I think I did a like a stream sort of it. Well, actually, it was a video recording with Ben, who does Chasing the Upside. So he's been doing interviews with some content creators and those that are in the community and sort of playing FPL in a different way or whatever. And it was really good to sort of talk about like some of the learnings I've had, which is not to consume too much content as well. And I think like it's so easy when things are not going very well that you want to just kind of absorb as much as possible. But how do you then take a step back and sort of go, you know what, I need to trust my gut a little bit more, go back to basics. And I have to be honest, I've made some rookie mistakes. It's my third season and, I don't know, I feel like I've had a bit of a lapse in kind of, I was doing really well, everything was going really well. And then because I've had a bit of an up and down yo-yo season so far, I started making all the rookie mistakes, all over again. Things like going early, and I'll sort of move on to like my game week, 20 team, which obviously was not very good. Like I only scored 68. It's such a weird thing, right? Because 68 points. Like if someone said, "Hey, look, I've got 68 points," it'd be like, "Oh, okay, well, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good game week. 68 points is really not that bad. It's quite a high score." But 68 game weeks where people were getting, FPL managers were getting like 100 points, anywhere between 80 to 100 points, right? 68 is not very good at all. And look, I bench Palmer. I've already sort of talked about it in my retrospective that I did. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I'm so like annoyed at myself from the perspective of, I didn't sort of think I would be, so I took a hit. So what happened with me in this scenario was I had FOMO of not having City players in my team. And so, I was like, okay, I need to get rid of Archer and bring in Alvarez basically, and try and sort of work out what I want to do in my So I had enough sort of money to do that. Now because I brought in Alvarez and I had I needed to play three up front, it meant that I had to bench someone, and so I wasn't going to bench, Son, I wasn't going to bench Richarlison. They all had good fixtures. But I think like what made it worse on top of that was I then, captained Trent thinking, oh, this could be a really good captaincy option. Let's not go Salah, let's go Trent. And it's so funny because I had my captaincy on Salah for such a long time. So it was a bit of a double whammy for me where I benched, Palmer's points, but then I didn't captain the right captaincy pick for the game week as well. And so I lost out in a massive way. So I think the impact, like the Palmer impact, and then having Richarlison was a good balance of sort of points. So I think, I lost like -7 and then I gained +7. So I was okay from that point of view, but it was my captaincy that screwed me over, basically. And so, because Trent got 0 points, right? So yeah, it's a real shame, but again, you kind of, you learn from that as well. But you'd think I would have learned more, from it. And I'll sort of give a bit of a spoiler alert, before we go into our bus teams as well. But I made an early transfer, and it wasn't a great early transfer. But I made an early transfer because, like, that's the other thing, one of the things that I've really struggled with this season is team value. And but Ryan, it would be really good to get to your perspective on, how do you feel about things like team value, especially?
Okay, so team value, what I tend to do with team values, I generally focus it on the first half of the season and not too much on the second half of the season. And when I mean not too much on the second half of the season, it's because a lot of decisions in the second half of the season is led by blanks, doubles, chip strategy mainly comes into that play. So you can't, I feel like focusing too much on team value then kind of contradicts with you trying to plan for doubles and blanks and whatnot. At the start of the season, because it's only one game week every week, so it's easier to kind of build team value because you kind of want these players. These players are rising. You can bring them in. There isn't too much of a gap as well in terms of game weeks, unless it's an international break and whatnot. So it's a bit more, I guess I would say, easier. And also, FPL managers are uh, more active in terms of their sales. They're more active on the button in terms of transferring players out, transferring players in.
Yeah.
It dies down a bit. So like the high values of like say like prices rising, prices falling, all of that kind of does tend to reduce slowly.
Yeah.
So that's why I tend to focus on the start, and the latter part is more mainly on, do I need these players for these specific game weeks and with these blanks coming up? Now, you said you did an early transfer. I'm not necessarily against that. I also went and did an early transfer, although I think
Okay.
the way we approached our early transfers were completely different,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
So
probably.
maybe that is something to kind of consider, but it all depends on your team structure as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's look, it's really tough. Like, like I've lost out so much on team value. Like I've just, lost out on price increases, right? Drops, and it's been both ways. So where I needed to take out a player that was dropping, and I wanted to bring in a player that is rising. And so that's where I've sort of had, sort of point two difference each time round. And I think it was like earlier on in the season where 1 week alone I must have had, I think, two price rises and drops, two lots of, that happened as well. And, look, honestly, at the time, because it was still start of the season, I was like, oh, I'll just ignore it. It's not a big deal. But then it happened again, it happened again, and it happened again. And by then it sort of adds up, right? And so now I'm sort of playing with, tiny margins of like point 1, point 2, point 3, where I'm short. And whereas, when I see like either wildcards or, teams that have been shared on X, for example, I'm then sort of like removing everyone from my team and just to see if I can replicate something like that because it looks really good, or, what's my equivalent basically. And I just can't get to some of those teams. So, it's it is important in some ways, like especially later on in the season, like where we are now, where we're thinking about removing, Son from our team and
Yeah.
Salah from our team, and those of us that have built up value, in Son, Salah, other players, that we may have that are injured now as well. Like, what sort of advice would you give to, people in that kind of, boat as well?
So it depends on like the players you have. Now, in certain situations, you have to kind of accept the falls. Now, I've got Trippier. Trippier's fallen twice
Yeah.
over the last in this game within the span of last game against this game. So I've lost point 0.2 on team value on him. because I got him at 6.9. He's now 6.7, if I'm not mistaken. But he has good fixtures upcoming. Now,
Yeah.
If I was going to worry too much about team value, I would have probably sold him. But I'm like, he has good fixtures coming. If he does well, hopefully, if he does well, he'll gain that team value back because people will try to look to buy Trippier back in. So I'll
Yeah.
gain back that team value, that lost team value over time. And also, I won't have to make an extra transfer because I'll have Trippier in my team. For players like Salah, Son as well, in your situation as well, my situation, I didn't have Haaland.
Yeah.
So for me, I was under the assumption that maybe he might be fit by at least this game week. So then if I needed to make moves that would not prevent me from actually getting him in this game week
Yeah.
and not having to take a significant hit as well. So I didn't want to take a -8. For example, if I went for Foden last week, I would have had to take a -8 if, let's say, Haaland was fit this week. Because I
Yeah,
wouldn't have
sure.
enough, which is why I went for Bernardo. Now, Bernardo could still come good.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. It's hard to tell on just one game week's worth of data. But because of that, I sold Salah as an early transfer because I knew he was going to fall in price. And also, the other reasons were the potential blanks and doubles that were coming up for Liverpool.
Yeah.
So there was the possibility of what Liverpool doubling in 25, blanking in 26,
Yeah.
potentially also blanking in 29. So when you put all of that together, you're like, okay, I can probably avoid Salah for some time, and then maybe if I'm wildcard in 30, 31, look to get him in there.
Yeah.
By then, maybe like even if you approach it from a team value point of view, the amount that I've sold him for and compared to what I would buy him for won't be too much of a difference as well. And obviously, this was all made with the thought of trying to get Haaland as well in. So the amount I can spend, even though I have 10 million sitting in the bank right now,
Yeah.
the amount I could actually spend was actually way more less than that. Which is why I went and did early transfer. Should I speak on who I got, or do you want to
Yeah,
leave that?
no, feel free to. Yeah, feel free to mention it. Like we'll move this fairly soon anyway.
So yeah, so I went and got Garnacho. Now my reasons for getting Garnacho, one were is probably the best budget enabler at that price point as well.
Yeah.
And also the fact that United don't really have many games. So chances of injury also are kind of quite low,
Yeah.
hopefully. Um, that was the one main reason that I went and got him. Could have got a few others, but I thought that he seemed more nailed in the team now. So I was like, okay, let me go and get him. So far, I'm okay. It hasn't backfired yet. But yeah, it depends on each person's team situation as well. I was able to do that because I had a decent enough bench just in case something went wrong to kind of navigate it. Now, obviously, Trent as well went and got injured after that, which doesn't help. But I still have a decent bench, even though the bench may not look as good now compared to maybe
Yeah.
a week ago.
That
So that's fine.
Trent injury, whatever this Trent injury is, like I'm really miffed about it if I'm honest, like because there wasn't anything visible, that had happened, and all of a sudden, he's injured. He's going to be out until what game week 30 sorry, not game week 31, but game week, yeah, not 21, 22, I
22?
think,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes it really difficult to, get rid of him. Although, like, again, if you're looking for a cash cow, it's really difficult to kind of hold as well when everyone like is scrapping for funds to sort of, bring Haaland back, right? Because most people have jumped off of Haaland as well. So, yeah, no, look, I really like your pick with Garnacho as well, and it's something that I was thinking about as well as a sort of not so much for this week because this week I already made my transfer, and yeah, not crazy about it. But it's probably a good time to move on to, I mean, we can talk about our bus teams a little bit in that case, and then we'll have a look at some of the fixtures and from a chip strategy point of view and look at some planning as well. Before I do that, I just want to give a massive shout out to everyone that's listening on Spaces as well. Thank you so much for being there. It's really great to sort of see you all there. Really, really do appreciate you tuning in, and everyone that's also tuned in on YouTube as well. So yeah, really appreciate you being there. And yeah, feel free to like drop any questions into the chat on Spaces, and we'll look at the questions on YouTube as well. So big shout out to Calvin, and Seaman Lal. I hope I'm
I,
sort of Seaman
I call
Lal.
him Simon, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. I see you in the chat a lot of the times, and I'm probably royally screwing up your name, so I'm very, very sorry about that. PSB, great to see you there as well. Getty FPL, and Tendai, thank you so much for that feedback as well. Really appreciate it. PSB, just on the point of that about team value, so it's an interesting conversation regarding team value. I'm usually the kind of old school manager where I would do my transfer on deadline day after the PC, after the press conferences on 32, 34 game weeks out of 38 game weeks. It's really tough, like especially like for instance, the deadline for us in Australia. So those of you that don't know, Ryan and I are both based in Sydney in Australia, and so the deadlines for us, are sometimes at ridiculous o'clock. So this time around, it's going to be 5:15 in the morning on Saturday morning. Now
Yep.
that for me personally, it's not such a bad deadline because I can still wake up at like 5 a.m. and have a quick look or something like that because I normally get up quite early anyway. But Ryan, you're doing a deadline stream, so
Yeah.
yes, maybe
I'm
you
already
can.
slept. I've
Yeah.
got my sleep. That's what I did today. I slept in the evening to try
Oh,
and
that's great.
be able to stay up till the night. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's like sleep all day, party all night type of thing for you. But those that are watching on YouTube, especially, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's great to sort of, like I say, great to have you there as well. Really appreciate it. But yeah, please do like and subscribe if you like this kind of content as well. Let's have a look at our bus teams. So before we go into some planning side of things, I've got your bus team up on the screen at the moment, Ryan. So yeah, please do read it out for the sake of everyone that's listening on Spaces as well.
Okay, so in goal, I've got Areola. In defense, I've got Gabriel, Pedro Porro, and Trippier. Midfield, I've got Bernardo, Palmer, captain, Saka, vice captain, Garnacho, and forward line, I've got Solanke, Watkins, and I've got Osula for the moment,
Yeah,
which I was hoping would be Haaland, but it's not going to be at the moment unless we get some leak. You never know.
yeah,
And then on the bench, I've got Dubravka, Branthwaite, and an injured Trent, and at Asia Cup Heung-min Son. So that's basically what my entire team looks like. Obviously I did that early transfer, so I don't have any free transfers. So if I was to do any moves, it would be for a -4 hit,
yeah,
and I could still potentially do a -4 hit in terms of removing Heung-min Son. But with so much uncertainty in terms of blanks and doubles, the options that I can go for right now, at least, are very limited. That's where I'm at right now. So, still uncertain on that. Ideally, we'll keep it right till we're close to the deadline to see if Haaland just magically recovers. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
yeah. No, and I like it'd be good to talk about captaincy, of course, as well. And I really love that you still got Ariola, in the team as well. Like again, I sort of decided to take out Ariola when he was injured. And I think I covered that in my retrospective as well about sort of just being a little bit more patient with injured players, right? And so I'm looking at the injured players in my team at the moment, and I'm sort of thinking I need to be a bit more patient. But it's really difficult to be patient, especially if like you also bring in an injured player in my case, which I'll come to in a moment. But yeah, look, I wasn't patient with Areola and decided to take him out and bring in Dubravka instead. But I kept Turner in my team, so that's basically the difference there. But Trippier, look, I got rid of Trippier, brought in Trent, a couple of game weeks ago. Glad I did. But also, yeah, like we've seen what's happened with Trent, at the moment as well. Yeah, I like so Osula, is he getting minutes at the moment as well?
Yeah, he is played for. So I got him when I wildcarded, and at the time I wildcard that was game week 10. He was still injured, but not injured. He was back on the recovery table and close to returning. So I went and looked at Sheffield United at the start before he got injured to see whether he was actually a starter, and it seemed like he was. So he's back in the starting team. He scored a brace in the FA Cup as well, if
Yeah.
that helps. But they obviously signed a new striker, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Uh, but he's there most likely, if anything, either this game week or at max next game week before Haaland comes. Because I'm trying to switch to a 3-4-3, just because Watkins and Solanke seem like the best striker options available.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. That's really good. Are you thinking about any hits or anything like that as well? Or you're happy with the team that you have?
Uh, so the only hit that I could do that where I don't need too much information with regards to blanks and doubles would be Heung-min Son potentially to Phil Foden. Uh, because of the fact that City won't blank in 26. Now I think Richarlison is another player that a lot of people would go, but if I was to go there and Spurs blank in 26, I'm a bit screwed. So I can't go there. I can't go Liverpool as well because they'll blank in 26 as well, potentially. So that's
Yeah.
a problem. So I had to kind of avoid teams that could potentially blank in 26
Yeah. Yeah.
and try and get players who could maybe if Foden kind of fits that bill where he doubles in 25, still plays in 26. So it's kind of a move that maybe I might actually do that. The Sun to Foden move. I'm not still yet sold on whether I want to do it or not. Because let's say, for example, I don't do it.
Yeah.
And you never know with Chelsea. They're currently trailing 1-0 to Middlesbrough and they don't win the game at Stamford Bridge. That means Spurs don't blank. Heung-min Son will be back ideally by game week 24. I'll have a Heung-min Son who most people won't have, and I'll have him
Yeah.
for game week 26 as well when he has a fixture.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's 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 a tough situation to be in because in one game week's time we'll have way more information, which is the funny part
That's the
because
thing. Yeah.
all the
And
info is waiting till then. Yeah.
yeah, and look, I completely agree. It's yeah, it's really challenging. And PSB just mentioned in the chat that India's playing Australia tomorrow in the Asia Cup, and hoping it won't be a tennis scoreline. Yeah, well, you never know. Australia have been rocking it in tennis, leading up to the Australian Open, which is kicking off next week, and I'm actually heading over to the Australian Open on the for the semi-finals and the second week. So, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to catch up with some of the guys over in Melbourne, for while I'm there for the tennis and have a mini FPL meetup or something like that. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be watching much of the Asia Cup and the and AFCON. Actually, I'm not even sure what I'd be watching it on over here. Like what. How do we watch it over here? No idea.
Good question. I have no idea, to be honest.
I'm sure it'd
Yeah, I
be
have no
like
idea.
highlights on YouTube or something like that, I'm sure. But yeah, I probably should, try and sort of catch up on some of the games and just enjoy some football in between. Like I don't have enough football in my life anyway. That sounds really good. And I think like it'll be really good from a contextual point of view. Like now that we've sort of gone through your team, I'll show you my team. And my team, I'll show you on plan FPL if that's all right, because I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place a little bit, like with what to do. And you can see my transfer there at the bottom. So I actually went a little bit earlier and I did Son to Bowen. And I'm so annoyed at myself that I did Son to Bowen. Now, of course, I was looking at it from a fixtures point of view and decided to go Bowen just because they've got Sheffield coming up, West Ham, and then they've got Bournemouth after that as well. So I was looking at it from a fixtures perspective. Bowen's been on form as well. Obviously, Kudus is out. And of course, Paqueta is injured again. And now Bowen's injured as well. And so look, again, the one of many rookie mistakes that I've made this season so far, which is on occasions where I have gone slightly earlier and when there's been like midweek matches and so forth, right? And it was a risk that I knew I was taking. So I was fully aware that this could happen, and I knew what I would be walking into, from that point of view. But I still sort of went there mostly because of how tight my budget has been. Because back of my mind, and I'm sure many others who are probably listening as well or watching, where they don't have Haaland in their team and they need to bring Haaland back. And so in my case, Salah is actually, I brought in Salah for 12.6 mil. And so if I sell him now, I can sort of make some returns on him. But then, if he only drops a few times. So I was actually quite surprised that he didn't drop in price today. Because I think we were expecting Son and Salah to drop in price. And so I feel like I was like, I dodged a bullet with that. But when I went early on Son had already, I think Son hadn't dropped in price. Salah had already dropped in price the first time round. Or I'm not sure if he had a price drop, actually. Yeah. So I managed to avoid Son's price drop because he was the player that I was probably most sure about losing straight away, because I brought in Son quite late into my side. And so, yeah, I was quite happy to kind of lose some value. Like, I didn't lose much value in him, basically. So I ditched Son, went for Bowen, thinking, yep, I wanted to bring in Bowen anyway, just because of his fixtures. And of course, Bowen got injured. So now I'm just a bit like, oh, fuck, like, what do I do? And so, yeah, I'm sort of looking at my team and thinking, I can't side I can't side 11 players at the moment. So, I'm not sure what to do, from that point of view. So a part of me is like, don't do anything, because that little bit more information will be valuable. Because, like right now I'm thinking, do I take out Salah, bring in Garnacho, similar to what you've done, play Garnacho? That helps me for game week 22, because then I can shift on Alvarez, for example, and bring in Haaland. Or, if I don't shift on Alvarez, for Haaland, I shift on, Solanke, for instance, and bring in Haaland and keep Alvarez as well, because of, City's doubles coming up as well. Karen's just asking what are my moves this week. So Karen, if you've just joined, I've just done earlier in the week, my epic rookie mistake was Son to Bowen, and so that transfer's already been made. I'm now contemplating if I take a -4 and go early, or if I just wait for some more news. And look, at the moment I'm thinking I could take out Solanke, could take out Alvarez, bring in Haaland in one transfer if I go Garnacho now. So that's my thinking at the moment, or I just leave it alone and pray that one of them plays. Because obviously
The
game
Taylor
week 20.
plays.
Yeah, Taylor. I just need to will we get Taylor news? Because that's what I'm like, I can't believe like my life has got to the point where I'm looking out for Taylor's news.
That I think you're not the only one who's probably looking out for Taylor news this week, and that's what company unfortunately didn't really say anything about it. So there's still uncertainty on that. But I think there are quite a few who are still looking to see whether they'll get Taylor leaks before the deadline today.
Ryan, you just can't make this shit up, honestly. But so I'm kind of secretly hoping that Trent is not really injured. Like there's some, I don't know, like maybe he's actually not injured and he's going to start, or Bowen, who's playing in the second week, obviously, with the game week being a longer one. So I'm really hoping that maybe Bowen will start, by some miracle, or he'll just come on and, I don't know, get some minutes or something like that. I'm not sure. Or Taylor, please, because like that was one of the reasons why like I kept players like a defender like Taylor in the team. They've got Burnley. It's a Burnley home fixture. They've got Luton and it's a home fixture for Burnley. And so, yeah.
I guess the question for you is, let's say Haaland was fit for next week, right?
Yeah.
What were your moves to try and get him in?
Well, so I'll move on to game week 22. So obviously that just leaves me with one free transfer there. So what I'd probably do was, let's say if I decided to take out Alvarez, I'd bring in, Haaland at that point. And then I'm looking for money, a lot of
Yes.
money. And so, yeah, look, I have a couple of options. I take out Saka because, Saka's just getting on my nerves at the moment, or I just leave him alone and not do anything if I end up keeping Salah. But look, if I do take out Saka, that gives me 4.3, but not many good 4.3 options. I'm basically bringing in a bench fodder if I bring in a
Yeah.
4.3 option there. So let's not socialize that idea just for a
Yeah.
moment. I think the
Probably a McAtee. I think I don't know. Even McAtee is
not
like,
even that, not even that.
yeah, no. So I don't know who you're actually bringing.
No, there's not many 4.3
Yeah, he's
options.
4.4, sadly.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. Like, again, it's just ridiculous. And this is where, guys, team value, ever so slightly. I say that while I've got, Trent on my bench as well. But look, Trent will be playing, by game week 22. So look, the obvious thing is taking out Salah. And so if I took out Salah, I've got options, of course. I've got 8.4 in the bank, by that point to, bring in someone. So that's my obvious kind of, option there, that I would be able to, I'd be able to do something like that. But yeah, so that's currently my thinking, that I would bring in someone a lot cheaper, basically, based on that. Yeah,
It, it doesn't have to be Salah as well. It could be Bowen
Trent.
as well. Oh no, I was
No, I
assuming
can't.
let's say Trent. Well, you can't do
No.
8.1. Oh, sorry, because you have
Yeah,
Saka at
yeah. I've
8.8
got
and it's also
yeah,
yep.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay, so it has to be either Trent.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
oh, who are you bringing on 3.9?
I know. This is what I mean. This is the
Okay,
struggle. Yeah. Again, another bench fodder. So I've got to be realistic about what I can do here, right?
yeah.
And so, what is the desire of bringing in Haaland? And
So then
how
it has to be
much?
Salah. Yeah.
It has to be. It has to be. And this is why, like, I'm contemplating: do I just take that -4 now, right? Or not? No, and so, like, I love how Curran's like, can you take out Bowen? No, because Saka's more expensive than Bowen, and I can't do it with Saka, so I can't do it with
Yeah,
Bowen.
fair enough. Yeah.
So look, it basically means I'm taking out Salah there. So if I sort of reverse that for a moment, go back to game week 21 and look at game week 21 again, I'm thinking if I just get rid of Salah now, because Salah's probably going to drop in price as well. And then, if we think about like fixtures, right? So this is where it might be a good opportunity to jump around a little bit and have a look at this diagram. So what I've done, for the sake of people that are listening on audio, and I'll see if I can, post this fairly soon as well. So what I've done is I've taken Lego Mane's hop on, hop off amazing sort of graphic that he puts together, and then I've smooshed it together with this really good table that Blackbox had put on their stream as well. So FPL Blackbox did a stream around chip strategy. And so what I've done is I've just kind of brought both of those diagrams together, because I think it's useful to see it in conjunction with, the hop on, hop off fixtures, where we could play some of our chip strategies and where there's potential blanks and doubles and things like that as well. So yeah, I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat as well. So Rubber Ducky said, I dumped Salah. It's more than likely he is not around until mid-Feb. He'll also be rested by Liverpool upon return and could even get injured. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, at the moment, I think Salah could be back. I think the favourites are Morocco, probably, for AFCON.
Yeah.
Maybe Senegal as well.
I think Salah's most likely to go until the quarters. And he'll be back by maybe game week 24 is what we're
Yeah.
expected, or at least according to the odds. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously.
Yeah, I think the earliest is probably going to be game week 24. I reckon.
Yeah.
You're right. And then the latest could be game week 25. And of course, Liverpool have, well, I think it's like 80%
Potential
sure,
double.
yeah,
Yeah.
potential double, 80% sure that there's going to be a double for them in 25. But there is a high chance then that, Salah
They
could probably
blank.
miss one of those games
After
as well.
yeah.
If they do
They
make it, all the way, it's possible that he misses one of those games, which makes it very difficult to triple captain. Because I think like one of the strategies, in fact, I think, most of the strategies that was shared by FPL Black Box, and, I'm going to just share this diagram very quickly with myself so I can share it with those that are listening on Spaces as well. Yeah, I feel like it would be a really good game week for a triple captaincy, for those that have the triple captaincy chip. And Salah would be the perfect triple captaincy to play it on as well, because they have Brentford as a double and Luton as a double. But yeah, what are your thoughts on some of the chip strategy, that's been suggested over here?
So, to be completely honest, I haven't particularly thought about chip strategy just yet because I
Okay.
feel like uh, what we say now will change in a week's time
Yeah.
completely. Like it'll be kind of irrelevant in a week's time because we don't know what at the moment. There's so much up in there with not only the FA Cup, like the fourth round, even the replays I still have to play in the
Yeah.
third round. That's also there. FA Cup fourth round, then the draw. After all of that, we'll get way more information and we'll have a bit more of a better idea on who's blanking, who's doubling. Um, and even the Carabao Cup semifinal, the scores as well, they weren't really like it's not fully out of the possibilities or realms of possibilities where even you end up in a situation where it's game week 26, it's Fulham and Man United like in a case because for that to happen, I guess Middlesbrough had to win and Fulham had to beat Liverpool. And the scores right now are what 2-1 and 1-0 in both ties. So
Yeah.
it's not out it's not an impossible situation. So that's where I'm kind of like I'll wait and see and have a better idea probably ahead of game week 22. Now you still kind of have to make if you're in your situation at least you kind of have if you want to get 11 men out
Yeah.
you either hope for Taylor or you make a move. The other option is you just accept the fact that you'll play with 10
Yeah.
and just go ahead and if Taylor comes on it's a miracle
Yeah.
because you have to kind of evaluate the your potential points as well, right? Like doing a move now um how much is that worth to you compared to, let's say, holding on to maybe a Salah or a Bowen for another week's worth of information, plus having info on the cups and everything? Now, we'll also, I think, have two games by then played of AFCON and Asia Cup as well. So you probably know where South Korea and Egypt are in their groups as well,
Yeah.
as a bit. So that's a bit more information there as well. Now, I got rid of Salah. And now if Liverpool double in 25 and blank in 26, it's a bit of a tough situation to be in because I don't necessarily want to play the free hit there
Yeah.
to try and bring Salah back in. But you could also swap the situation in terms of if Spurs and Chelsea also blank and they also by it's very low percentage chance, but if they also get added onto 25, then the need for a free hit, or at least what you see here, the
Yeah.
strategy of switching from triple captain to free hit would be more of a priority in that specific game week because there's so much more upside
Yeah.
because you have four big teams playing in a double game week. So there's a way more upside for potential returns. So the free hit becomes one that people would want to go for, especially with those who don't have Salah as well and
Yeah.
won't have
Yeah.
Heung-min Son as well. So they'll all be back by then. Now, will they be back by the time for that? Like you mentioned, for Game Week 25, will Salah play both games? It's hard to tell at the moment.
It's hard to know. I mean, if we sort of take the previous, like obviously the previous tournament, for example, Salah came back slightly sort of not entirely himself, right? Like it was pretty tough, like having him back in the team and not playing to his full sort of capacity potential as well. So yeah, it was quite frustrating, you know, having him in the team and yeah, he was just not he wasn't playing very well. And so and I guess that's what sort of worries me as well. And so like there's a part of me that's like, oh, if I just get rid of him now, because we know at the very least that he's not going to be around until game week 24. So there's the opportunity, you know, sort of side of it. Like so for instance, if I take out Salah now, then I've got the opportunity to just play it sort of safe and go and decide to bring in Garnacho, and that still sort of leaves me with some money for later on as well. You know, so I can bring in Haaland in one transfer next game week anyway. However, you know, if I decide to kind of chase the upside ever so slightly, you know, that I might sort of go Foden, for example. And if I do go Foden, it means that I may have to make an additional hit later on to, you know, bring Salah back in, because I would need to rejig, you know, where the funds are sort of sitting. So if I show you my team again, you know, for like for instance, if I decide to take out Salah now and just bring in, let's say I bring in Foden. So obviously, like it's a -4, and I can take out Alvarez and bring in, you know, Haaland, and I've only got zero point 0.2 left in the bank there, right? And so, you know, that's fine. I'll get through like game week. Obviously, you know, sort out my bench, so ignore that for the moment. But you know, I'll probably roll in game week 23. And then, you know, by the time we're hitting game week 24, now this is where we're thinking, Salah could be back, Son could be back. What do we want to do, right? So let's say Salah is back by game week 24. And so at this point, I'm thinking, what do I do exactly? So I've gone Pedro Porro down here. So if I just kind of remove that again, so just so reality, like this is when I was like playing around with it. So I've still got 0.2 in the bank there. What do I do to bring Salah back in, right? So I've got Bowen to probably get rid of. So I could get rid of Bowen. I could get rid of, maybe I get rid of Saka at that point. Maybe I drop Solanke. You know, I'd have to make even though I've got 2 free transfers, I'd have to still take a hit at this point if I go Foden in game week 21. So there's probably there's more of me that wants to just leave my team alone and not do anything than make a transfer right now, because I don't even know. Like, do we even know if Haaland's going to be fit?
No, we don't know. It'll have to completely depend on leaks for the moment, for this week at least. Now, Karan did mention Spurs could double as well, but that's a very low possibility because of the fact that both Spurs and Chelsea, that fixture,
Yeah.
because both of them are not in Europe. So the Premier League can literally put them anywhere else that they want. And it's not an urgency to put them
Yeah.
in here. Compared to where Liverpool, on the other hand, there's only, because of the fact that Liverpool are in the Europa League as well, there's only very few spots where the Premier League can reschedule their game. And that's why it kind of has to go into 25. City already have a game in hand as well, and they're in Champions League as well. So because of that, there's again very few spots where you can schedule City's game as well.
Yeah.
And that's why the chances of them doubling in 25 is higher. And the fact that
Yeah.
Chelsea, Spurs doubling is not as high, even though they could blank in 26.
Yeah.
But again, now in your specific situation, let's say they do double, right? City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
You would want Foden probably
Yep.
for 25.
Yep.
And you're saying you would probably want Salah as well. So I guess looking at the team depends on how you go about it, because let's say Spurs blank in 26. So Pedro Porro might be one to kind of get rid of.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
So let's do that. I'd have to
Yeah.
go. Let's just kind of remove there for a moment, and I'd probably get rid of Bowen to make space and hold Saka, for example. So let's just kind of bring Salah back in and see what we're playing with. So there you can see. I would still need to find money. So
uh,
I get rid
so
of
you do
Solanke.
Solanke out. Yep.
Yeah.
But then how much? Even Solanke won't be enough, right?
No, it's not.
So you would have to do a Watkins instead.
Yeah, so if I take out Watkins, that gives me something to play with. But let's say if I go on the cheapest side, let's say if I went with Sula as well, and yeah, just go with that for the moment.
4.8.
But yeah, so I've got 4.8 for my defender. So I
Yeah.
can actually go for, and I think I sort of put in Van Hecke
Okay.
there,
Yeah.
yeah, just to kind of put on the bench because, like, to be fair, Brighton do have some decent fixtures as well,
Yeah.
but that still gives me point 0.8, right? So I could,
Can you upgrade Ursula to like a Joe Pedro?
no, just under
How much is Joe Pedro?
5.4, I
Three?
think.
5.4?
I think 5 point. Let's have a
Oh, yeah,
look.
5.4. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
slightly just under.
yeah. So just under. But do I really want to get rid of Watkins? No, I don't know.
Uh, I think
Yeah, maybe.
it's hard to tell now itself because the landscape of FPL can change in those specific like gaming 24 is like a more than a month away.
I
So
know, and you're exactly, and I think this is the predicament, right? It's sort of, what do I like? I think there's probably going to be a lot of people in a similar boat to me where they've made an early transfer or they don't have any more transfers left, for whatever reason, and they've got more problems in their team that they sort of bargained for, and of course, they need to take out it like. So, for instance, in my case, I would be playing 10 in the side, and I'm okay with that for the time being, right? But yeah, I'm not sure, if it's worth kind of going early on a hit now when I could just postpone that. So that's where I'm leaning towards at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But if we look at Watkins, like if we look at Villa's fixtures, would you be tempted to jump off of Villa though? Like they've got
no,
decent fixtures, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't remove them. Uh, but at the same time, see, this is where the free hit and all of that conversation also comes in to
Yeah.
25, which is why people are in that boat where they're like, oh, maybe we just free hit Salah in that way because see, you do all this surgery to bring Salah in, right?
Yeah.
In 26 he blanks
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
29 also he
exactly.
blanks.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's why you're like, okay, how much surgery is worth all of this to try and just bring one player back in?
Well,
Um,
well, this is it. This is it. And so now, I've gone back to the hop on, hop off, and the chip strategy sort of side of things. So, I think strategy 2 also included like triple captaincy in 25, and then a free hit in 26 because there's a blank. It seems like there's 2 or 4 teams that could blank in game week 26, and so yeah, there's potential to kind of free hit there. But yeah, otherwise free hit can happen, a little bit later on. I think like there were some suggestions around game week 20, like 32, 34 as well. And wildcards, it seems like most of the strategies that were proposed by Black Box team, when they did their stream was around that sort of 30, 31 sort of mark because there's some fixture swings coming up as well. So yeah, I think I'm willing to wait, just kind of suck it up and not
mm,
kind of deal with the issue, that I've got in the team like at the moment, just because information is key. And I think it was someone in the chat. So only one bonus point, FPL. Hey, great to have you here. Thank you for joining the stream. They said information is key for me, and yeah, I agree. I think like in this scenario, I'm sort of thinking, okay, after being a bit of a reckless FPL manager and being a bit of a rebel and going early, I feel like, oh yeah, I'm just going to start being sensible now and look for the information.
I guess
Yeah,
this is where
maybe
it depends on
holding.
like
Yeah.
this is where it says like you did your retrospective, right? And is one of that like if it's making sensible moves as part of that, then you have to limit the number of high EO players that you also like take out.
I take out,
So
I
yeah,
know.
exactly. So because if you look at your team last week, you had because I think you would have been fine if you either benched Palmer or captain Salah and not have done
That's
like you
it.
did.
That's
That's
it.
both high risk You went full
Exactly.
high risk play. You basically went all in on a poker table. You're like,
I
I'm just gonna
did.
go like this. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's the kind of thing I would do after a whole bottle of wine in, you know.
yeah. So you want to limit the amount of high risk. I think so. This is the thing with FPL. Like I am okay with high risk play, but I tend to do it high risk play at the latter end when
Yeah.
you're trying to win mini leagues and overall isn't as much of a care at that point. Or it depends on people's ranks as well. Some people have a decent
Yeah.
amount of lead on the mini league that the mini league is not a problem and the rank is the one that they're focusing on. So it depends
Yeah.
on your priorities at that point. But
No,
yeah,
look,
so
honestly, my priority right now is definitely to just, you know, kind of just calm the fuck down and keep it simple. Not make any more crazy
yeah.
moves.
I would probably wait and see because let's take, for example, let's say Middlesbrough win
Yeah.
in the second leg against Chelsea. Then Spurs don't blank. And you're looking at getting rid of Porro now, but now Porro will have a fixture instead.
Yeah.
So those are a few things I guess we kind of have to wait and see in terms of um, moves and whatnot. Now, again, it's all squad dependent. Everyone's squad is
Yeah.
completely different. And for you going for Foden now, it kind of presents the other problems
There'll be
later.
other problems later. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing. Like it feels good. Yeah, it's exciting. There's FOMO. Everyone's kind of, you know, doing it. And, you know, like in hindsight, I wouldn't have gone Bowen. I would have gone Foden, you know, yada,
Mm.
yada, yada. But I didn't. And so the reality is, you know, this
Yeah.
is obviously where I am at the moment. And look, I'm quite happy to be sensible about it. And, you know, if anything, like I should, I do realize that, you know, it's so difficult to plan. Like I was talking to FPL Crisis. So shout out to FPL Crisis who's listening on Spaces at the moment. He's having a fantastic season so far. You know, well done, Ashley. Despite sort of, you know, also benching Palmer and also captaining Trent like me, and you know, shout out to Curran as well, who's having, you know, decent season as well, and also captain Trent. There was a few of those. I feel like I'm surrounded by the Trent captaincy sort of picks, but yeah, like, you know, I was having a similar conversation with Crisis about like just, you know, you can't plan that far ahead at the moment. It is really challenging to do so. So, you know, how do we sort of manage the planning side of things, right? Because I feel like I need to play agile a little bit more, like just kind of each week, you know, make a decision about that week based on what I'm learning and the evidence that's there in front of me rather than doing any sort of, you know, upfront planning or thinking.
This is the problem. We're in such a specific game week where we still don't know anything and everything is up in the air.
Yeah.
Uh, so uh, it's is there any other player apart from Foden that you've seen that maybe could help it work? I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, I would probably go Garnacho, like just because
Yeah,
then I'm avoiding. So I'd be able to field 11. So if I show
yeah.
you really quickly, if we sort of not do any of this stuff. So so if I take out Foden, and I just bring in, yeah, if I bring in Garnacho, like he'll probably be a little bit more owned, surely, or not
No, he's
actually.
still very low.
Yeah, okay, well, fairly lowly owned there. So like, yeah, look, if I do that very quickly, and then I can bring in Haaland obviously in one move, that's fine. Similar to the previous one, I'd roll again in 23, get to so if
20.
I, yeah, so over here I would just let's just kind of change that. I would go, let's say, Bowen to Salah. That leaves me with like minus, you know, 1.8. So I'd still need to like just make one more transfer. So I'm looking for 1.8 basically. So at this point, I could take out Solanke and let's say bring in, you know, yeah, like just a cheaper option, you know, over here as a an alternative.
Oh, you need 1.8. Yeah, 5.1.
Yeah, so I'm still low on getting, you know, João Pedro. But if I kept Bowen in the team and got rid of Saka, then yeah, that's an option as well. Yeah, I can't sort of drop like even in the defense. Like if I got rid of, so let's say if I didn't do that, in the defense, just really quickly, I've only got 3.7 if I got rid of Porro. So it's
So you
just
still
it's
have to
still
take a hit.
yeah, I'd still need to take a hit if that came down to
Yeah.
that, unless I get rid of Saka, because getting rid of Saka leaves me with 7 mil to work with. So that gives me more options, to play with. But you know what? Game week 24, like you say,
It's a month away.
is a month away, and there's plenty of shit that could go down before then. So I'm gonna just, hang tight and not think about that. Um, Let's have a look at captaincy picks. So we've hit sort of like the 1 hour, 10 minutes mark. It's amazing, to chat. And actually, before we go into captaincy picks, let's take some of the questions that were in the chat. There's been some really good chat going on. Thank you to everyone that's in the chat on Spaces, especially if you're listening on Spaces. Thank you so much for being there. It's great to have you. If you don't know already, so just as a quick summary of my off the cuff series, they are very much unplanned, unprepared, off the cuff conversations, mostly for me to share my sort of FPL journey this season. And I only started it this season back in August, and it's been great to sort of talk through how my team is going and where I'm at, and bringing on some guests as well. And we've got Ryan, who's joined us today from Football Chat Box, as well. And these are very much sort of one-sided, so I'm sorry that I can't take any speakers on Spaces. But yeah, really do appreciate you being there, and I'm also pulling in the video like from Spaces onto my YouTube channel as well. So yeah, thank you again for everyone that's in the chat. Please do like and subscribe as well. There was shout out to TN. Hey, FPL Planner, great to have you there. So Tendai, you did share your team, so let's have a look at your question actually. So I think yeah. So your latest comment is, I think planning is slightly overrated. I remember having a good feeling about Sterling. No, I hear you. All right, so let's just find your team, because you did post your team. So my team at the moment is Dubravka, Areola, Porro, Trent, Saliba, Gabriel, Taylor, Saka, Palmer, Foden, Bowen, Salah, Watkins, Archer, and Solanke. 1 free transfer, 2.8 mil in the bank. What would you do?
Is this Tendai or the fantasy football lad?
Oh, sorry, I'm reading Fantasy Football Lad there. I just
Oh,
realised.
okay, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Since I've called that one out, let's answer that one, and then we'll look at Tendai's one as well.
Yeah. Foden, Bowen, Salah, Watkins.
Do you need
So he's
to
got a
do
back
anything?
line. Not really. He's got 2 Arsenal
No.
defense and Porro this week.
Yeah, Saliba, Gabriel, Porro. I think that should be fine, right?
No, he doesn't have. So he's playing
Saka,
1,
Palmer,
2. He's
Foden.
playing a 3,
Oh, Bowen
3,
can't play. Salah
2.
can't play.
He's playing like a 3-3-2 with Archer. So 3-3-3. So he
Yeah.
needs one more player, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. So either Bowen or Salah for him probably might have to go as well. So same situation like you.
Yeah,
somewhat.
except 2.8 mil in the bank. I'd take your 2.8 mil. Can I have it?
So yeah. Again, it depends on who you want to get rid of. And I would probably reiterate what Rabadaki is saying. Like, should not overcomplicate moves.
Yes.
Sometimes we tend to overcomplicate moves. Sometimes it's better that sometimes I just like do the move and then I've done it. I don't have to think about it anymore, and like you just deal with whatever comes after that.
Yeah. So Fantasy Football Lad did ask a question later on, asking, Richarlison a good option. Look, I've got Richarlison in the team. I don't think it's a bad option. I think he's getting chances, not necessarily finishing them in the same way. I don't know. Like, what's your thoughts on like Werner coming into the team as well? Like, do you see that being a bit of a threat to Richarlison's minutes? Because that could be an option.
So, yeah, for the moment, I don't know if I'll go and buy Richarlison just yet for this specific game week, just because we don't know what Werner will be like in terms of where he's actually going to play, whether he's going to play the striker spot or the left wing spot.
Yeah.
I think the above average FPL boys are a bit more confident on Richarlison's number, like the output with Werner there. But we'll have to wait and see. I know people are kind of off by Werner with what he did at Chelsea. But I think on the edge, we kind of have to change how we approach stuff as well with regards to Spurs. I think he'll get opportunity, so we'll wait and see what happens with him. But I don't know if I'll go immediately as well because there is a possibility now that Spurs blank in 26. So you're potentially buying in a player who blanks as well in 26, which is another thing to kind of consider, which is
Yeah.
why we kind of have to wait one more week before we kind of know who blanks, who doubles, and everything.
Yeah.
So it depends if your team is in a position where if Richarlison does blank, you can cope with it. Then I don't mind it, but I still probably might wait one more week.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. Yeah, sorry about that, Tendai. So your question was, you're actually bringing in Estupinian and Grosh and Son and Sufal out. That's my gut anyway. Good fixtures. I don't mind that. I brought in Estupinian last game week, which was, I was just like, you know what, screw it. Let me just again. So sometimes that my reckless moves do pay off occasionally, and it was the first time Brighton kept a clean sheet. There you go. So yeah, no, I he looked really good, and so yeah, I quite like that move. Pascal Grosch, yeah, I don't know, like he's not the pick that I would typically go for. Like he doesn't excite me as a pick. I feel like the Brighton mid spots are just a little bit sort of confusing at the moment, like
Mm.
with who you go, but it seems like he's a bit more nailed. But he kind of plays everywhere, doesn't he? It's hard to tell
It,
like how that's
I
going to
mean,
shape up.
they've got the fixtures, and usually fixtures breed form, so we're hoping that Brighton will improve. Um, I haven't gone for Pascal Gross. He seems to be the flavor this week, at least. A lot of people are going to him.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, he does well at the end of the day. Overall, FPL points, if you look at like at the end of the season, he'll be up there as one of the highest scoring bids. Um, I'm not against it, but it depends where. Like, I don't feel like he's a high explosive pick as well. He might be like a pick that kind of like has like decent amount of returns, not necessarily consistent as well.
yeah,
Um, so it depends if you want to go. It's just that for me, it's not a priority move that I would want to do. Or it depends on again squad structure. I'm not really. I would prefer an Estupinian right now than a Pascal Gross, just because of I know how explosive Estupinian can be.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And actually, what's your thoughts on some of the Liverpool players, at the moment? Because obviously, it is a bit up in the air as well, and it's it feels really funny. I'm as a Liverpool supporter, I'm asking you like what your thoughts are, because even I don't know how they're going to line up, right? Like so. It's really tricky because like Jota obviously started in the FA Cup, the EFL Cup tie against Fulham, and then got pulled off later. And yeah, so I don't know. Like it's really hard to say. Like so, Jota's been on my radar. Like he's been on everyone's radar as well. I've been sort of noticing him popping up everywhere, and we just had Diaz could be a good good differential as well. But I don't think I'd want to go to any of the other Liverpool players at the moment. Like unless you have like it's almost if you have Jota, you keep Jota. If you have Darwin, you keep Darwin. But yeah, not sure.
Yeah, with the again, this is where I need to know what happens with the doubles and the blanks and whatnot. Uh, Out of if you had to pick one, I like Jota, or at least I trust Jota. I should change
Yeah,
that. I
it's
trust Jota more than I trust Diaz or
Darwin.
Darwin. Yeah, no, I know Karan, if he's still in the chat, he is thinking about Darwin, but I I do not trust Darwin.
No.
I don't trust Darwin. I like Diaz as an option. I just trust Jota.
Yeah.
With Liverpool. I just need like because they have so much options in attack that could rotate in their front line.
Yeah.
I'd rather go with the player that I can trust. And even if Jota was to not start, he has that potential to haul even off the bench.
Yeah.
He's that
Agree.
kind of a player. So yeah.
Yeah. Agree. Agree. Let's talk captaincy. So It's a really tricky captaincy game week this week, and look, I'll be very very honest. I've had really shit captaincy picks this season so far. I think when I did my retrospective, I had a look at fantasy Premier League tools, put in my ID, and got a sense of like how good my captaincy picks have been this season so far. It was like 55%. That's awful. Given like last season, I think my captaincy picks were more around the 70% mark, and above. And that's after the whole season. So 55% after sort of just over halfway through the season is awful. But it's wide open this time as well, isn't it?
It is. I think there are players that are not on here also who are part of the conversation.
Yeah,
So I know
agree.
Odegaard
Yeah.
has been spoken about a lot.
Yeah.
And I think
And Watkins has come up as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
So there are also a few other players to kind of consider. For
Yeah.
me, busting captain, as of things stand right now, it's on Palmer.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think I told to you as well, and I think we told in about the group chats when I watched that Liverpool versus Fulham game, the highlights, the one thing that stood out to me was how poor Fulham were centrally, which
Yeah.
is where Palmer would occupy that space. So end of the day, it's Chelsea at home as well. They do create quite a lot of chances, Chelsea. Now, obviously, Palmer didn't finish them in the cup game,
Yeah.
but if he's going to still get in those positions, I don't mind it. And he's also a penalty taker as well. Now, people might be put off with the price. For me, I think you have to look at Palmer as like a underpriced FPL player
Oh,
this
totally.
season.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so for me, I am currently leaning towards him. I'm not. I think Saka and Odegaard are decent options, and I've got Saka as the vice captaincy, but I'm just not confident at the moment with Arsenal as a whole.
Yeah.
In terms of they've been on a bit of a downturn in the last few weeks, last few matches. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where I want to go there. Um, Saka is the pen taker, so that's where if I had to put the armband, I would put it on him.
Yeah.
Odegaard, maybe a decent differential. But the only thing with Saka again is if he's feeling like a saint and decides to give penalties away, that's another annoying thing.
Feeling like a
So
saint. Oh my
yeah.
God.
So I don't know. So I'm just gonna go with Palmer for the moment, just because I feel
Yeah.
like it's a game week that I need to survive, and I'm just gonna go with the safe pick. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at.
What about you guys in the chat as well? Like, who are you captaining this game week? Or at least, who's your captaincy armband on at the moment? So I'm leaning towards Saka just because. So there's the, am I going to be half sensible or fully sensible? Kind of thing. So if I'm going to be sensible and not take a hit right now, then I've got to also think, okay, who's probably going to be the highest sort of EO captaincy pick? Is probably going to be Saka, it feels like, just because he's owned around sort of 60%. I don't know what it is around my rank, but I think he's owned around 60%, which is crazy. Like that's
Yeah.
fairly high. But I am sort of toing and froing between Palmer and Saka at the moment, and of course, I'm going to go with the penalty taker because I made that mistake. I was trying to be cute last game week and put it on Trent. But yeah, look, at the moment I've got it on Saka, but I'm not sure about that as well. So I've got Alvarez in the team as well. Interesting that Alvarez was on this chart, and of course, FPL Under the Radar does some amazing graphics as well. Really love their graphics, and there's a couple of others, that I love sort of using, on these streams. But yeah, so like you say, it's not got the full coverage of captaincy options. I've been seeing lots of Tony, Ivan Tony coming back into, FPL sides and captaincy shouts as well.
This is like KDB being bought by about 500k managers.
I know.
Uh,
It's wild.
I feel like you don't have to be with players returning from injury. You don't necessarily have to be the first to the party, is what I would say. Uh, so yeah, but anyways, that's a different story.
Yeah, no, of course. But yeah, I think look, it's between Palmer and Saka for me at the moment. Like I'm not 100% sort of convinced either way. But I'm gonna lock in tonight because like we mentioned earlier, the The deadline is at 5:15 in the morning. I know, Ryan, you're doing a deadline stream. Like, maybe drop us a chat, drop us a message in the FPL
Yeah, in the group
Australia
chat.
chat or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
If Haaland is starting, I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do. I'll be taking a -8 at that point. No, I'm joking. I probably won't. I can't. Yeah, I think so. PSB's just mentioned. So PSB, for those that don't know, I think he had something like he was in the top 10 in the world or something like that for captaincy picks a couple of seasons ago, I think. And yeah, just really, really good with captaincy picks and writes for I can't remember which online sort of content sort of he writes some content as well around sort of picks and captaincy shouts and things like that. So yeah, I often sort of have a quick chat with PSB about who are we captaining this time round. So he's saying Saka edges it for him for captaincy, which is interesting. Yeah, Tendai, I'm between Watkins and Palmer right now. I think Palace and Hodgson tactics. So we'll sit back. Yeah, it's a tricky one for Arsenal. Chelsea, Fulham is always a great battle. I agree with you though, Ryan, in regards to Fulham. Having sort of watched the highlights as well. Yeah, just how bad they were. Centrally as well. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder, do we think that Palmer will play in a different position? Like, because
Oh, well, he played striker that one. Might not necessarily play striker in this game as well. They might have Broya up front with Palmer maybe in that number 10 spot, which is still fine because it still occupies that very similar spots. I think one thing, I guess, based off your chat at least to take is that captaincy feels so spread that
yeah,
I feel like as long as you have the players that have been spoken about,
yeah,
I think you'll be in a decent spot.
yeah.
That it kind of feels like that kind of game week. Now I don't have Odegaard, which is fine, but I have Saka, I have Palmer. So if you have at least a few of the favorites, even though you don't end up capping them, you
Yeah,
still might be in a position where you still gain some points from them.
yeah,
So I think we should be fine because there's no favorite in terms of captaincy. Another thing I will state is if you're captain in Saka, make sure to have a good vice captain because Saka's game is like a week away.
yeah,
Between now and a week, anything can happen. Touch wood, but just in case, that is
yeah.
something that we kind of need to keep in mind.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah, and Rico in the chat. Hi, Rico. Thanks for joining. Mentioned the similar sort of thing. I'm captaining Palmer. Saka plays 8 days later. Too much can happen in the 8 days. That's true. That's true. Yeah, only one bonus point. So RJ, you're on Palmer. PSB, your vice captaincy is Palmer as well. Oh man, I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be Palmer and Saka combination, like for me as well. Like in terms of captaincy, vice captaincy, that's probably where like I'm leaning, at the moment too. Yep.
Yeah, same. If I get news Haaland is starting, then I'll bring Haaland in and captaining, but that's a different story.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's pretty much it. Like, if there's any other questions in the chat, please feel free to ask away. We'll take like a few more if there's anything else that I'm just having a quick look through. Otherwise, it's been time always flies when you're having a great conversation. Ryan, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on here and just to kind of have that off the cuff kind of conversation. Monkey did ask a question around is Stupinian worth captaining? That's wild. That's a wild monkey behavior.
No, this is you players that are very low and just bring them in. They're already getting you points. You don't have to
Yeah.
give them.
Yeah, I agree.
I still can't guarantee to that Brighton will keep a clean sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So Fantasy Football Lads just asking what transfers did you two do? So I've already done you can all laugh again with me. I've already done Son to Bowen. I went early, yes I did, and I'm not going to make another transfer. I'm probably going to be like if I show you my team, I'm probably going to be playing this team at the moment. yeah, this is how it's looking. Realistically, I'm just going to pray that Trent is actually not injured or Bowen just comes on because it's 8 days later. And maybe, just maybe, Taylor will play. So I think it's looking a little bit more like that, probably for me. So yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens there. And Ryan's already gone Garnacho for Salah. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's the plan. I know it's so painful. Like honestly, after that happened, and I just kept getting messages from a few people, sort of going, "Do you know that Bowen's out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I do, I do." It's like a death by a thousand cuts kind of thing going on. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. You know, we take it on the chin and just kind of, roll with the punches, right? And yeah, but like I say, I'm probably going to be locking in tonight, going to bed, similar to what TN's planning as well. Um, Ryan, thank you so much once again. It's been absolutely fantastic chatting to you, getting all your advice as well and perspectives. And yeah, really, really do appreciate it. And big shout out to everyone that's been listening on Spaces as well. Really appreciate you being there and being patient with a very long stream. I always find having guests on, it's always, I try not to put a time limit on there unless you absolutely need to be somewhere. So yeah, no, it's been great to just chat about all the things as well. And to everyone that's been on YouTube chat as well, thanks for being there. Really appreciate it as well. Please do like and subscribe. Yeah, if this is the type of content that you enjoy, please do like and subscribe. I'm going to try and be a little bit more consistent than I have been more recently due to the holidays as well. So yeah, I'll try and do a few more solo streams as well, and a whole bunch of other guests to come on as well. Good luck, everyone. Ryan, do you want to sort of just let us know where we can find you and give a bit of a plug into your channel as well?
Sure. So first of all, thank you, Meera, for having me. And I do enjoy like these streams that you do with like various guests because it's good to get different people's opinion as well and like different mindsets, different ways of thinking about the game. And in terms of where you can find me, I'll be doing a deadline stream today. Football Chatbox on YouTube, not FPL Chatbox, but Football Chatbox. But yeah, you can find me over there on YouTube or even on X. I think if you look on YouTube, you'll be able to see the handle as well here. But yeah, that's basically it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you to everyone that's been in the chat, as mentioned. Green arrows to all of you. Yeah, lock in your teams. And yeah, hopefully it's a positive game week for everyone. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Hopefully back next week with a solo stream, probably a bit of a midway conversation about where things are at and what I'm thinking for game week 22. Because hopefully we'll have a little bit more news about Haaland, especially. Like, are we wrecking our teams to bring in Haaland unnecessarily, or actually, yeah, we should wreck our teams and bring in Haaland as well. So let's see how that goes. Thank you, everyone. Great to be here. And yeah, speak to you soon. Take it easy and look after yourselves.